and welcome to another episode of the Chairman's Wrestling Podcast. I am Steven Vincent, and I'm the chairman, and here today we are going to talk about Smackdown Live, the first episode since the brand splits. And just a reminder, you can follow me on Twitter at Chairman Podcast, where I will tweet my thoughts and rants and everything in between when I can. So, as we all know, Monday Night Raw, huge success, great night of wrestling, great all around. Raw is doing everything right. I wish I could say the same for SmackDown. I had high hopes for that SmackDown show, and I left disappointed. I expected so much more from SmackDown. Figured to be right up there with Raw, and I didn't get that. And there's going to be people that are saying it's because of the talent. It's not because of the talent. Both brands have great characters. I mean, yes, Raw has more characters, but they also have 3 hours to fill. SmackDown has 2 hours to fill. So it would be easier to fill 2 hours versus 3 hours. And keep in mind, Raw probably didn't even use, everybody. Obviously, they didn't. I mean, they had such great matches on Raw that they didn't need to use everybody. SmackDown, it was what it was. Let's go over the show here. And the first, thing we had was a Battle Royal. The original plan here was obviously a 6-pack match. Number 1 contender to face Dean Ambrose at SummerSlam for the WWE Championship. John Cena, AJ Styles, Bray Wyatt, Dolph Ziggler, and Baron Corbin, 5 of the 6 guys got a free pass in. Now the weird thing is when Daniel Bryan, obviously announced the final guy that they're going to put in was, in, and then they're like, Shane's like, hey, you got one more, I thought it was going to be a mystery person, keep us on our toes at the end of the night, which that would have been cool, they might have signed a veteran or called up someone from NXT, like a Samoa Joe or a Shinsuke Nakamura, and really give us a holy shit moment, because after seeing what we saw on Raw with Finn Balor, SmackDown had to answer in a big way. Instead, we go with a Battle Royal. Winner gets that last spot. I'm like, alright, this is cool. But then you look at the Battle Royal field. There isn't a whole lot of guys to get excited about. There isn't a whole lot of guys that are probably going to be a legit threat to win the 6-pack match, let alone move on to face Dean Ambrose. I mean, the best guys in this were, Apollo Crews and Zack Ryder and Kalisto and Kane. That was your final 4. And then they had a couple guys like Alberto Del Rio in there. But then everything else was kind of just obviously filling the roles of a Battle Royal. I mean, the Ascension, Breezango, the Usos, the Vaudevillains. I mean, a bunch of tag teams actually were thrown in here. And obviously, none of those guys were going to win. So, the match went on. And, Kane did his dominating thing. And then there was a couple things here and a couple things there. And, Battle Royals aren't very big deal to me. You've seen one, you've seen them all. And the only one I really care about is Royal Rumble back in January. So, it was interesting when we got to that Final 4. I was thinking Zack Ryder was going to win. It just seems like they've been really pushing him into these big spots lately. But obviously, he did not win. I didn't think Kalisto was going to win. And I'm like, okay, well, Kane's in here. He's a veteran. He's obviously been a main event player before. Maybe he's going to fill that last spot. But instead, they went with the up-and-coming Apollo Crews from NXT not too long ago. And it's pretty cool for Apollo Crews to finally get a big match here. So, good for him. Mark this one in his hat. Apollo Crews then would move on to the main event to join the other 5 gentlemen in the 6-pack match for the right to challenge Dean Ambrose. And right after this match, there was a segment for Shelton Benjamin, former WWE star, is going to make his return to SmackDown Live sometime in the near future. very excited about this. I was a big fan of Shelton Benjamin, so I'm curious to see what they do here with Shelton Benjamin when he arrives on SmackDown Live. And I think the SmackDown Live roster could use some veterans that used to be in WWE, since the roster isn't as deep as Raw's. So I think with them bringing in some old big-time names is going to help SmackDown Live. The next match was a rematch from Battleground. Becky Lynch versus Natalya. Natalya, of course, was the victor at Battleground, but SmackDown Live, it was a different story. Granted, Natalya was dominating once again, but as you can see, Becky Lynch got the disarmer and defeated Natalya. Now, I personally am not a big fan of these rematches right after a pay-per-view, unless maybe it's like a title rematch, which this obviously wasn't the case. If I'm, thinking, why would Natalya get in the ring again with Becky Lynch when she already beat her? She has nothing left to prove to Becky Lynch. She's already beaten her. So why would she get in the ring again? It kind of doesn't make sense to me. Like, why did this match happen again? I mean, I wish there would have been some reason for this match instead of just, we're going to showcase the top 2 women from SmackDown Live because we have to. So, and another thing that kind of disappointed me was not a mention of a women's championship for SmackDown Live. What are they going to do with the women wrestlers other than wrestle week in, week out? I mean, other than saying, I'm the best, because that's not going to work unless you have a gold strap. But a pretty cool thing did happen after this match. Becky was victorious and getting interviewed, but all of a sudden Alexa Bliss from NXT, who was drafted last week, came out and got all up in Becky's face, basically saying she's going to be the top women wrestler of SmackDown Live. And I'm a big fan of Alexa Bliss, very excited she was drafted. One of the reasons I'm excited about SmackDown Live's women's division is for Alexa Bliss. But then Naomi returns, and she basically calls out Alexa Bliss, calling her out for, you're new here, you can't talk yet, what have you done in that ring yet? And then all of a sudden you see Carmella come out, and she made her presence known. And then Eva Marie with a very long, drawn out, introduction, entrance per se. The whole place turned red. It reminded me of watching Kane from like '97 when the arena would turn red and he'd come out. So the Red Queen is on the main roster, and there's a lot of people that aren't a fan of Eva Marie. So it was an interesting way to showcase the women. And hopefully next SmackDown Live we kind of find out what is going to be, more to the story is for the women. Because, we didn't see a whole lot other than Becky beat Natalya. But what's this mean for the championship? Is there going to be one? So there's some questions that need to be answered. And that, I guess, gives us a reason to tune in to SmackDown Live next week. Moving on here, Miz TV. I hate talk segments, especially Miz TV. Long, drawn out, filler, waste of time. Especially when he interviewed himself. And this was time wasted where we could have had a match. This was one of the black marks of SmackDown Live last night. Was a very long, drawn out Miz TV segment. And, thankfully Randy Orton came in there. But Randy Orton talked to Chris Jericho just 2 days ago, at Battleground. So why would we need to talk to Orton again? He's already said what he needed to say regarding Brock Lesnar at SummerSlam. So why is he... Yeah. So obviously, Orton wants to fight. That's pretty much his thing. He wants to fight. Challenged Miz for the Intercontinental title, but of course Miz ain't doing that. And Miz didn't want to fight him. But of course, Orton bait Maurice into accepting the match, which other superstars have done in the past. Now, obviously Orton is going to get a lot of wins in the next month before SummerSlam to look good for Orton. Brock Lesnar. But, this is another thing with SmackDown Live. I felt with the women's championship match between Charlotte and Sasha, SmackDown needed to counter with a title match of their own. I personally am not a fan of The Miz's Intercontinental Champion right now, and I would really like to see a new champion elevated. And I felt this could have been an opportunity for someone to beat The Miz for the title, but it was a missed opportunity. Hell, I would have been totally fine if Randy Orton won the Intercontinental Championship. Granted, he has a match with Lesnar at SummerSlam, which obviously they're not going to put the Intercontinental title on the line, but I think Randy Orton could make the Intercontinental Championship important again, because I felt with The Miz, having the title right now, it's not helping the title credibility. I mean, the only reason why The Miz's reign has been so successful is because of the people he's wrestled. When you're wrestling guys like Sami Zayn, Cesaro, and Kevin Owens, they're going to, turn shit gold. I mean, those three are phenomenal athletes. Of course, they're on Raw, so you won't see them fighting for the Intercontinental title anytime soon. But either or, The Miz just needs to lose that title. And, of course, Orton beats The Miz when they have their singles match, so The Miz loses again. I honestly don't remember the last time The Miz won a match one-on-one. It's been quite some time. If I actually felt like it, I could go back and look, but needless to say, this guy is hurting the momentum of the Intercontinental title, a title that used to be the stepping stone to the main event scene. And obviously The Miz has already been in the main event scene how many years ago? He's fallen from grace. He hasn't gotten back. He probably never will get back. So, needless to say, this was a lot of time wasted that could have elevated, for example, American Alpha. The hottest tag team from NXT that got drafted. We're not seeing it all because they're making their SmackDown Live debut next week. Well, I'm sorry, WWE, but, you got to strike when the iron's hot. And Raw kicked your ass. So American Alpha would have helped you guys somewhat get fans' attention. Instead, you missed out on that opportunity. Hell, you didn't even have a single tag team match. So do you guys even have a tag team division on SmackDown Live? Because obviously it looks like you don't. So this is my argument with that. Need to focus on the tag teams. Is there going to be a tag division titles? Or are they going to be the women and just run around in circles beating each other for the hell of it? Another missed opportunity. Hopefully next week we get some more clarity. And then we had another segment of filler. We had Heath Slater coming out crying about not getting drafted. Well, here's the thing, Heath Slater. You wrestled for Nexus, and you were pretty much nobody then. And then you came out with that whole thing around Raw 1000, getting beat by every veteran retired legend in the book. Hell, you got beat by Lita, a clown. No, actually, you beat the clown. You beat Doink the Clown. I think the only one you beat. But, countless legends beat you. And then you started that whole 3MB thing with Jinder Mahal and Drew McIntyre. That was completely awful. And then you had the Social Outcast, which is another awful gimmick for you. So it's almost like every now and then Heath Slater gets this whole rebellious thing where he's got to cut these promos, but yet he's still a bottom feeder. So now, him going undrafted, is this like his new thing now? He's going to come out every week and try to get signed or something? Because I'm not getting behind this Heath Slater thing. Because every time, Heath Slater gets on the screen, he just gets beat up by everybody. So why should I give a shit about Heath Slater? Answer me that. Unless you actually go and win a title or something, I don't care. Honestly, I thought Heath Slater was going to end up back in NXT. I thought he was going to go down there. You figure NXT lost a lot of superstars to the draft. Heath doesn't get drafted, and so he goes to NXT and kind of rejuvenates himself. And honestly, that could still happen, because obviously Shane McMahon isn't signed Heath Slater. So maybe he's going to test his luck on Raw next week, or maybe beg Daniel Bryan. But as you can see, Rhino has came back to the main roster after doing some time at NXT, and he gores the hell out of Heath Slater. So it looks like Shane O'Mac might be inking Rhino to a deal, but I don't know if that's official yet, but it looks like SmackDown is on the move to bring back some old veterans. But finally, our main event here, the six-pack challenge. We had John Cena, AJ Styles, Baron Corbin, Dolph Ziggler, Bray Wyatt, and Apollo Crews, winner of the Battle Royal. All one of these guys has to do is score a pinfall or submission, and they're moving on to SummerSlam to face Dean Ambrose for the WWE Championship. And, sixth match, a lot of action, a lot of guys going around, And it seems like the last few days there's been a lot of matches with multiple guys, so a lot of finishing moves, a lot of crazy antics, just full-blown chaos. I honestly thought John Cena or Bray Wyatt was going to win this match. I figure SummerSlam is one of the WWE's top pay-per-views of the year, so they're going to want a big name to challenge Ambrose. Obviously, the guy that runs the place, John Cena, is a safe pick because, everyone knows who John Cena is. Wrestling fans are not. Casual fans, everybody knows who Cena is. So, obviously, they want that big draw for SummerSlam. So you figured Ambrose Cena is definitely a match that could get people invested. And I remember last year, I believe it was, when Cena had the U.S. Open Challenges, Ambrose was one of the guys that challenged Cena, and that was a great match. So I could have been totally cool with Ambrose and Cena feuding for the WWE Championship. But of course, Bray Wyatt would have been my pick. I feel Bray is more than deserving of a WWE World Championship run. I mean, the guy has got a huge following, and he looks a lot slimmer now too, and his ring psychology can't be matched. Granted, his feud of Ambrose the last time wasn't as great as I thought it could be, but new era, man, new era. But then obviously AJ Styles is another potential guy, but I figured he already had his big feud of Roman Reigns for the World Championship. Really don't think they'd give him another go at the world title quite yet, unless they're actually going to give him the title. So my plan is Ambrose might not be losing the title after SummerSlam, so that would probably keep AJ away. And then, of course, Apollo Crews, new guy, up-and-coming guy, wins that Battle Royal. Maybe he gets to surprise the world and face off against Ambrose, but obviously that didn't happen either. But here's Baron Corbin, wins the Andre the Giant Battle Royal, had a really long, not very good feud with Ziggler. I couldn't get behind that at all. It was just one match too many. But I figured, new direction for Baron Corbin on the brand split. I think it would help a guy like him out. He definitely could be a monster heel if booked properly. But, of course, none of those guys won. It was Dolph Ziggler who won that match. Dolph Ziggler with a super kick, of all things, and AJ Styles took the pin. So, my question is, why is AJ Styles taking the pin in this match? He took the pin at Battleground from Cena in their match, and now he takes the pin to Ziggler, when easily I think Corbin or Crews could have been the guy to take the pin. So is there something going on with AJ Styles that we don't know about, that he's taking these pins now? Because AJ Styles is a elite prospected player in the game here, and he should be getting pinned like this. I mean, he's not doing Roman Reigns kind of things, or is there something we don't know? But Ziggler is the winner. Dolph Ziggler is going to face Dean Ambrose for the WWE Championship at SummerSlam. Now, when this happened, when the pin went down, I was kind of stunned. I was shocked, and I give WWE credit for shock value here because I didn't think Ziggler was going to win this match. But then you look at Raw. They're bringing Seth Rollins versus Finn Balor. That is a marquee match, dream match. I mean, that match is going to be off the wall. And then we have Ambrose Ziggler. Now, I don't know what they're going to do here. Is Ziggler going to kind of ease his way into a heel, which honestly probably would be the best thing because his face run has been very stale. I don't know. I mean, obviously we had a little showdown here at the end, but it was kind of weird. They kind of just stood there and raised Daniel Bryan's arm. And, just like Raw, when they missed out on Seth Rollins during commentary in the main event, I felt Ambrose should do some commentary in the main event. especially being the champion. And Ambrose was doing a lot of commentary, especially in the last month. I feel that Ambrose should have been utilized a lot more than he was for SmackDown, especially being their number one guy. And another thing I wish I would have seen was Ambrose kind of go in there. He had that little stare down with Ziggler, and then just to give him the dirty deeds. Just, make a statement. Ambrose takes Ziggler down with the dirty deeds, and that would get the crowd going. And, and that would be like, this is on, guys. That's Ambrose telling Ziggler, this is on. You want my title? It's on. But we didn't go that direction. We probably will in a few weeks, maybe. But needless to say, this is SmackDown's feature match. So, where does that leave the rest of the party? Cena, Styles, obviously they have a split when it comes to each other, in a way, for pay-per-views. So, third time's a charm. So don't be surprised if you see Cena, Styles booked. Bray Wyatt, I don't know where he's going to go. Baron Corbin, another guy, I don't know where he's going to go. And Apollo Crews is kind of another guy. So, hard to say where they're going to go. But SmackDown Live definitely underwhelmed compared to Raw. I really hope they throw a better show at us next week. Otherwise, Raw is going to crush them. Because I definitely don't see Raw slowing down right now. Especially since, once the fallout of the women's division there with Sasha and Charlotte. We're going to hear from Rollins concerning Finn Balor, getting that feud started. And where's Roman Reigns going to go? I mean, what's he going to do now out of the world title scene? So, I'm already ready for Raw. Now, SmackDown, I'm not there yet. I'm hyped for American Alpha's debut. I'm kind of curious to see where this Ziggler-Ambrose thing goes, but other than that, I have nothing for SmackDown Live to get invested in. So, I need something to care about, guys. I really hope you can get something going next week for SmackDown Live. Because right now, Raw is kicking your ass. So that is going to do it for me here on the Chairman's Wrestling Podcast. Thanks for checking this out once again. I am on Twitter, as of course, at Chairman Podcast. There is really not much going on for wrestling now the rest of the week because of SmackDown on Tuesdays now. Rest of the week is open. And yes, there is NXT. There is a Cruiserweight Classic, which I still have to check out, by the way. And, of course, there's other things to check out in wrestling besides WWE. So, if there's time, definitely check those out. But that's going to do it for me on the Chairman's Wrestling Podcast. I'm hoping that I have some time to get back into my archive wrestling watching. As you may see in one of my earlier videos, I covered Survivor Series 97. Figured that's a good time to start those videos, mainly because that's where I'm at. And, I kind of want to see where the fallout is of that. So, hopefully I can sit down and put together some Raw, Nitro, and ECW Hardcore TV videos once again here in the next few days. Just depends on how things go, how my Pokemon Go addiction is. So, laugh now. But anyways, thanks for checking out the Chairman's Wrestling Podcast, and we will check you guys later.